Hi everyone, welcome to another cleaning video. This is for weeks 6 and 7 for the homework. Many of you have asked to see pictures of the flooring as it's coming along. It's not perfect, but I like it. It'll serve the purpose, and these are just some progression photos that I've taken at different phases as I go along on the project. I am finally at the halfway point in the room where I needed to shift the remaining furniture over to the other side of the room. At some point, that end table and this love seat and that lamp will all be leaving. I just need to find someone to come over and help move that love seat out of there because it's heavy. But it'll get done. It'll get done. I am, I can feel it. I can taste it. I can see the end in sight with this floor. And I just can't wait to have this room to set up as my craft room. So some of you may notice that I do not have an underlayment down on the floor. That's because this particular laminate flooring already has the underlayment built in on the back side of it. There's actually probably 1/8 of an inch foam that is attached to the back, and it's supposed to help reduce noise. And it just ends up saving a step, which is great. So just to let you know, this is the third time I have recorded the voiceover for this video. I am definitely not an IT person, computer person. I know how to use a computer because obviously I use one for work. But when it comes to doing fancy stuff, I cannot. I spend more time on Google asking how to do something. The first video I uploaded for the cleaning, that one took me 9 hours between getting it uploaded because lesson learned, do not have long segments of your video that create a file that is too large to upload. So I had to open up a Google Docs account and upload it to Google Docs from my phone and then download it to my computer. But we learn, right? Or at least I'm learning as I go along with this process. But for some reason, the microphone is not recording on this video when I use the same program that I used before. So I actually had to use a different program. And again, Google, how do I do a voiceover recording in this software or whatever? But it'll get there. I am expecting that the process will keep continuing to get easier and easier as I go along. So I just have to battle the learning curves, right? What do you got? Sorry, one of the dogs is into something. So anyway, I must not have had to go anywhere this particular day because give me that. I'm in my slippers and my sweatpants. I think you'll see me in different footwear and pants attire further on in this video, but this is what I do first thing in the morning. I don't have light in this room. All I have is that lamp that's on that coffee table. So the only light I get is what comes in through the windows. And that's why I do this in the morning. I usually have my coffee, like I said, and do my dishes, let the dogs out, feed them, and then I will come in and do this. So yeah, this is a different day. I think I did this this section after I got home from church last Sunday because I have my black shoes on. And this isn't hard to do. I don't like the cutting. I really don't like the cutting. But again, that's not hard either. It's just, and I've said this before, it's just the repetition. And I could probably, if I put my mind to it, probably get this flooring all done in one day if I just spent one whole Saturday or Sunday working on it. But to me, I would rather be doing various different projects than to spend a whole day during one project. And that's why I don't mind just doing this 3 or 4 boards a day. I think it's the feeling of getting numerous small wins accomplished rather than one large win. And that's probably just my brain, how it works. But whatever. I did have to order a new pry bar. You can tell that black one there is getting bent on the end. And so for these longer boards, it's really not working to get them together. So I'll be trying out the new one probably tomorrow. It just came in the mail today. We did have a little snow last night, but it all melted as soon as the sun came up. I looked out my bedroom window this morning. I have 7 acres of woods around me, and there were 2 deer laying out in the woods. I could see them from my window. There used to be 3. I have 3 deer that live in the woods behind my house. But this year I've only seen 2, so I don't know what happened to the 3rd one. She must have moved to a new neighborhood. Okay, so now we are on to one of the homework projects. The homework for last week and this week was to do a cabinet or a drawer. So this is the cabinet, as you can see, next to my fridge. And this cabinet is kind of a catch-all cabinet, meaning that the items that I have in here really don't have a home anywhere else. And they're items that I use, but just not on a regular basis. So, yeah, the big kabloom there. I don't know when the last time was that this cabinet was cleaned out, to be honest. I can say that for a lot of areas in my house, can I? But, and there's Foxy under the table. Whenever any of the dogs see the vacuum cleaner come out, they go running. I used to have one dog that used to attack the vacuum cleaner, and she was not afraid of it at all. She would just come right up and try to bite the hose, bite the nozzle. It was a game with her. She loved it. These dogs, not so much. So, getting back to this cupboard, these items, like see that veggie chopper, veggie slicer, this kitchen scale. I have another food chopper. I use those when I do canning and preserving. So again, not used on a regular basis, but I do use them. And what cracks me up about that food chopper is that I know that I went and bought a second one, probably because I forgot that that one was down there. So when I find that second one of them's going to have to be donated because I certainly don't need 2 of them. But even that white tray will be coming out Thursday for Thanksgiving. So here are the before and after pictures. And this is the stuff that is either going to be donated or tossed. So those ice trays up at the top, those actually came with the refrigerator, and I've never used them. They're kind of small. So those will be donated. That cookbook, I think I belonged to a recipe of the month club at one point, and I don't think I've ever cooked any of those recipes. So that'll be donated. The bag of the plasticware, you can see that the plasticware has actually yellowed. So who knows how long that has been down there in that cupboard. The styrofoam bowls got thrown away, the toasters being donated, and that silver tray, now that's actually a plastic tray. And that little voice in my head started speaking. There's nothing wrong with that tray. Why are you going to get rid of that tray? You may need that tray someday. And that's the voice that we have in our heads, isn't it? The little voice that can't resist or can't reason why we would be giving up something that still has a purpose or still has a life. And I took that thing and I just folded it in half and snapped it before I changed my mind and put it back in that cupboard. And it went out in the trash. But we do fight that voice. And that's the voice as we go through all this that we're learning to tame and that we're learning to quiet down. So this is the junk drawer, which is up above that cabinet that I just cleaned. And I decided to tackle this, but you can see how much stuff is in this drawer. It's to the point of where I had to press it down to close it many times, and then I'd be worried about whether or not I was going to get it open again. And I don't know how long it's been since I cleaned this drawer. I found some eye ointment in here that was a prescription for my cat, and it was dated from 2009. So I would say that probably it's been 2009, 2010 since this drawer was cleaned out because that ointment was in there. And my cat died 2 years ago at the ripe old age of 17. She was a good cat. So, anyways, I started going through this stuff. I was piling it on the counter in front of me, I was piling it on the counter behind me, and I was trying to break it into categories. Okay, what? Oh, more magnets. What was I going to keep? What was going to go back in this drawer? And what was not going to go back in this drawer? So I was trying to do that as I was pulling the stuff out. And once I had everything out, and I was looking at the two piles, all of a sudden I just got overwhelmed. I got overwhelmed and it was too much to handle. It's only a drawer, right? But looking at all that stuff and then trying to figure out how I was going to organize it, what I was going to keep, and how it was going to go back into the drawer kind of took me off guard. I actually walked away from it at some point because once I got past, you'll see me starting to sort the batteries here in a minute. And, so I went through those, checked the dates, probably a third of them got tossed. And the only reason that I was able to start with the batteries is because I have that battery tray that you'll see in a moment. And I've always had that. I've had that for years. And so I knew that I could organize the batteries into that tray because I already had it. But then everything else, it's like, okay, what am I going to do with all the other stuff? I don't want to just throw it back into the drawer. I don't know how I'm going to organize it in the drawer. So once I got once I started sorting the batteries and some other stuff that I knew was going to go back in the drawer, I had to stop. I had to stop and, like I said, walk away. I just had to let my brain decompress. And this is probably a good starting point for me to have had to tackle this drawer, because at some point I'm going to have to tackle something much larger, like a room, like the bag room or anything in the basement. So what this taught me was, okay, you don't have to tackle the whole project at once, right? Isn't that what we're learning with the homework? To just tackle one small area at a time, because you will get overwhelmed looking at everything as a whole. And that's what was happening to me. And like I said, I knew I could tackle the batteries because I had this tray. And yep, I'm just going to take the batteries, take them out of the packages, put them in this tray, and that part will be done. But then, okay, what do I do with everything else? So once I decided what was going to, I came back the next day. I left the piles on both counters, didn't bother with them for the rest of the day. Came back the next day and I had a game plan. It's like, okay, so I have the two piles, the one that's going back in the drawer, the one that's not going back in the drawer. I started dividing those piles into categories. So I had my pet stuff. I had small household tools like screwdrivers and X-Acto knives, things like that. Then I had, like my markers. You'll see I have a lot of permanent markers, and I use those because I have to send stuff to the kids, and I use those to mark the boxes. And how was I going to organize this stuff back into the drawer? And I ended up going to Walmart and buying some of those little bins, which helped me to get things organized. And you'll have to do that. It's like anything else in your house that you're going to organize. You're going to say, like you're going to be cleaning a closet. You get everything out of the closet, and then you're going to split it up into your two piles, what's going back in the closet and what's not going back in the closet. Once you've decided on what's going back in the closet, then you're going to separate that out even further, because you're going to have your pants pile, your dress pile, your shirt pile, your shoe pile, your scarves and belts pile, whatever it is. And then you may even be able to break those down even more. All right, so this was the stuff that I decided was going to go back in the drawer. And this is all the stuff that was not going back in the drawer. So getting back to the closet analogy, and you can see this is the next day, even breaking those piles down further, once you get them separated by type of clothing, then it's like, okay, so I have pants. What are winter pants? What are summer pants? Same thing with shirts, winter and summer. You can even separate them further by season, because depending on which season it is, if it's out of season, those may go into the back of the closet. And the ones that you know that you're going to be wearing now will be in the front of the closet, or however you have your closet organized. The point I'm trying to make here is that once you have them broken down into the smaller piles, and yes, here I am using the word pile, category, into smaller categories, it's easier for you to deal with them, because you can deal with each pile or each category as you can. Maybe just do one a day. If you can do all of it in one day, great. But the thing is that you can take it at your own speed so that you're not getting overwhelmed by it. That's what's important. And start with these small things like a cupboard or a drawer. I totally get it. I totally understand why my therapist told me to start with a cupboard and a drawer. And here's the before and after. And of course, that reason is because, and this is the stuff that's not going back in, So obviously the reason that she's doing that is because she's preparing me for the larger areas that I'm going to have to tackle at some point. So start off small to be able to work your way up to the larger areas. So here I am. This is at nighttime, as you can see. And this is my son's old bedroom. And Lily's helping me. But I decided that I wanted to start with getting the curtains down off the windows, so I could get those washed and I can wash the windows. And this was the room that I chose to do rather than try to start the bag room. And my therapist was totally in agreement with it. And that's because I do want to tackle my bedroom. And I'm going to have to temporarily move into this room while I clean my bedroom, because that will be a lot longer to clean, take a lot longer. So I just wanted to get like the curtains and then get the bedding, stuff that I can get down into the washer machine and start washing. A few of you had mentioned in the last video that maybe the reason that my daughter had been so upset at seeing her room was because her room was such a mess and my son's room wasn't. Let me tell you, I am an equal opportunity hoarder. My son's room was that bad at one point. He had come home on leave probably 3 or 4 years ago, and he usually stays with his cousin when he comes home, because they hang out and they do stuff. And for whatever reason, his cousin wasn't around that particular week. And so my son ended up having to stay here at the house. So I had to clean out his room. So everything that had been in his room went into my daughter's room. So that's what happened there. And I had asked my son if he had gone through his clothes up here in his room. And he said yes, that he had. And evidently that meant, yeah, I went through the clothes and took the ones that I wanted, but everything else I left. So I'm just starting to go through the clothing in here, which is fine. More stuff leaving the house, right? Lily, she's so inquisitive. Thank you to those who have commented saying how the therapy and homework videos have really helped you. I've heard from so many people that say that they have either parents or other family members who are hoarders, and just by me talking about it and explaining some of the things that go on in our brains, hearing it from a hoarder's perspective has helped them understand, what their loved one is going through. And I'm so happy to hear that, because that was one of the main reasons for doing this channel, being able to raise awareness and educate people on the hoarding disorder. Also, to keep me motivated, and believe me, you have kept me so motivated. I was still in that funk this past week, but knowing that I needed to do my homework, clean that drawer, clean out the cabinet, and then start on this room, it really holds me accountable, because I know that you guys are going to be expecting to see the video. I know that you're going to want to know what I did. So thank you for holding me accountable. And a couple of you have also said that you thought about doing videos. I urge you, go ahead and do them. Or even some people have even shared with me through email what they've been working on. That's great. That's great. And if you want to share with the rest of the community, definitely put them in the comments. We'll cheer you on. And if you need to be held accountable, we'll hold you accountable. Those clothes that are hanging off the edge of the bed, that's his Red Sox jersey and a couple of Air Force t-shirts that I figure he might like. Oh, and speaking of my son, my little granddaughter has yet to make her appearance. She was due last Tuesday, so she's running a week behind here. She's running a week late, but she's going to make an entrance on her own terms, that's for sure. So if you are here in the United States and you are going to be celebrating Thanksgiving, I want to wish all of you and your families a very happy and blessed Thanksgiving. And if you are traveling for the holiday, take care. Please be careful. And I hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful day. We'll see you again. Take care. Bye.